Hi friends, this is Leela. Welcome to my channel Leela webdev. So up to now we have did something like HTTP connection request, Ajax request through the HTTP server, and we are requesting the response, right? So let's say that, for example, I will try to show you the demo. So here is our client. Here is our here is our client, and here is the server. So server. Now whenever we are trying to make a request, so whenever we are trying to make a request, so we are trying to make a request. So what the server is trying to do, it is giving you the response. So the server cannot have any information about the client, that who is asking the details or otherwise resources. So the server doesn't bother about the thing who is asking the concept, who is asking the resources. So whoever may be the user. So for example, here it may be the another client, or otherwise here you may be having a hacker who makes a request to this one, and you can get a response directly. So for example, in your server, or otherwise in your server, if you are having any sensitive data, okay, if you are having any sensitive data, and now what I can do is, for example, if you want to make a request to the server, so the server needs to have some authentication, okay, to the client, that the client has to prove it authentication. So it should be a valid user. So that if it is a valid user, then only we will send the information to this one. So if it is not a valid user means, then we will not send the information. So normally what will happen is, so when you are trying to make a request normally, so what will happen is, I will try to explain you. So now for example, I will try to show you another scenario. So how it will look like. For example, let's go to the new thing. So for example, let's say that here we are having the client, right? So here we are having the client, and here we are having the server. So server. Okay. So whenever you try to make a request, so first it will move into the cloud. So here this is a cloud. Okay. So now we will try to make a request into the cloud, and in this cloud we will try to send the data, and from here onward, from cloud to server, you will be sending the response request. And in the same scenario, the response will be sent to the cloud. In the cloud, it will reach the client. So this is the thing. So in this cloud, so some hackers will be there. Okay, some hackers will be there who can hack our sensitive information, the information which we are trying to send to the server, or the information which the server is trying to send to the client. In between this one, the hacker might get a chance to hack the data. So for this scenario, so what we will be having is, so normally the people will ask to keep the HTTPS. Okay, HTTPS. Now when you keep this HTTPS secure connection, so when you try to make a secure connection, so what will happen is, so here you will be having the client again. I want to explain you. Here you will be having the client, and here you will be having the server. So if you are having a secure connection, then what will happen is, so here you will be having the cloud. So now the client makes a request into the cloud. So into the cloud means to the server, it will goes into the cloud, and here you will be having a secure connection. Okay, you will be having a secure connection, so that here encryption will be there. Okay, it's not an encoding, encryption will be there, so that the hackers cannot able to encrypt that one, decrypt that one. And in the same scenario, server also sends the response in an encrypted way. So in this way, we can maintain the what I can say. So you will be having a secure connection here. So now in between this one, when you are having this HTTPS connection, so the hacker cannot able to access the data, so your data will be secure. But here again one problem will be there. What will be the problem is, now the hacker itself, okay, hacker itself will try to make a request to the server. Okay, make a request to the server through the cloud. So he will try to make a request, he can make it, right? And now the server will give the response to the hacker, so giving you the sensitive information. So for example, if you are having a banking site or anything, so now the sensitive information will be there, which could not be shared to the other parties. So whoever have an authorization, those guys only can be able to access it. Other people who are trying to access the data from the server, so they should not have the permission. So now here the server, as we already told you, that HTTP is a stateless protocol. Now the server will not bother who is asking you the details. If the web server will get the request, and the server will process the request, and it will send you the response. That's it. So it will not bother you whatever it may be. So coming into the HTTP 1.1, okay, from HTTP 1.1, the users, so the developers, so HTTP, so they have developed in basic authentication. So they have developed an authentication. So there are different types of authentication. So to validate the request, there are different types of things like OpenID, OAuth2. So these are the latest things which we have got it. So previously in the HTTP 1.1, we have an authentication. So it's a basic authentication. So don't think that basic means a basic thing. It's a name itself is a basic authentication. Now what will happen is the basic authentication. In this basic authentication, let's try to do it. So here you will be having the client. Okay, here you will be having the client, and here you will be having the server. So here you will be having the cloud. Okay, cloud. So cloud means into the internet, into the public you are trying to access. Now you made a request to here. Okay, when you made a request to server, so it went to the server. Now server will send you a response that please authenticate yourself. Okay, authenticate yourself. So now the client, the browser automatically opens you a form, login form, like it will ask you for a username and a password. So when you type the username and password, now the browser sends you the authorization. Okay, authorization request, and now the server will give you the correct response. So this is the process actually it will happen. So when you try to make a request here, it will give you a response to authenticate. So here it will send you a header, something like www-authenticate header. So here you need to send header, custom header, authorization, and you need to send the base64 encoding thing, the username and the password. I will try to show you these all things. So this is how the basic authentication will go on. So now when the client send the authorization token, so that is the header, so then you will get the response. So then you will get, the server will give you the response. Now here, if you have a hacker, okay, if you have a hacker and he tries to make a request to the server, now the server will ask you the username and password, which the hacker doesn't know. So now if he doesn't know the username and password, so it will give you an unauthorized, so you don't have the access. So like this, if you are having sensitive data, in your application, or if you don't want some of the files to be accessed to the public user, only the members who have the access, so who has the username and password, or who are the valid users only they need to access, means they can use this authentication technique. So they can use this basic authentication. If you try to open here in our Chrome, in the MDN blocks, Mozilla Development Network, so you will be able to see about this HTTP authentication, the general HTTP authentication framework. So here you'll be able to see that client tries to make a request, get request, HTTP 1.1. So this is available in the HTTP 1.1. It will try to make a request, and the server will send you another unauthorized, and www-authenticate header will be added, asking you for the ask user for the username and password. So this one browser automatically has a built-in setup to ask you the username and password. When this username and password is typed by the user, then it will send you again a request with the authorization, basic, and the basic 64 encoded credentials. Now the server will check the credentials and it will send you the details, or otherwise if you are not a valid user, means it will send you the unauthorized. So this is how the authentication will be going on. So now if you try to see in a XHR object, so when you try to do xhr.open, it will ask you the method. Okay, it will ask you the URL, it will ask you whether it's a synchronous or asynchronous, and the last two arguments it will ask you the username and password. Those username and password is nothing but this one only. Okay, because of that reason I am trying to tell you this authentication mechanism. So here if you try to see, there are different types of authentication. So as we already discussed, basic, bearer authentication is there, digest, HOB, like this, different types of authentications will be there. So this is all about the HTTP basic authentication. Hope you understood about this authentication concept. So in the next video we will try to see how we can set up in the Apache server, and also in the Node server we'll try to see how we can see this one. If you have any doubts or any suggestions, please post the comments below to this video. I will try to give the reply. And if you like this video, please do support me by subscribing to my channel. Thank you.